In the solemn courtroom, the woman rhythmically tapped her cheek with her fingers. It turned out she was using Morse code to communicate with the death row inmate. She asked the prisoner how she could rescue him. Upon receiving Annie's message, the prisoner responded by blinking in Morse code. Due to the volume of information, Annie immediately took notes. By the time they finished exchanging messages, the trial had concluded. The prisoner was sentenced to death, with execution scheduled in 3 days. However, he wasn't the least bit nervous. Just moments ago, he and Annie had devised a grand escape plan. That night, following Jack's instructions, Annie arrived at a wall. She located the specified brick and gently pushed it inward. The wall slowly rose, revealing a sports car inside. Annie got into the car and immediately headed to the next location. Upon seeing the 37-kilometer marker, she pulled over. Suddenly, the mountainside transformed into a door that slowly opened. As the car drove into the cave, she discovered a large secret chamber inside. After entering the safe's password, it popped open, revealing stacks of cash in various colored vials. Annie picked up the yellow and green vials specified by Jack. Next, Annie planned to use these to rescue Jack from prison immediately. However, she still needed to find a key figure, the Minister of Justice. This man abused his power for corruption and had long been infatuated with Annie. Seeing her beauty, he always wanted Annie to become his wife. Now, seeing Annie approach him voluntarily, he eagerly closed the door, ready to make a move. But Annie asked him to prove his love for her. The minister swore on the spot, willing to do anything for Annie. Annie smiled slightly, then picked up the newspaper on the table. She saw the news about Jack's impending execution and expressed curiosity about this legendary figure, wanting to see him before he died. The minister immediately refused, as Jack was a death row inmate. Annie had to try another approach. She teased the minister with her nose, and he quickly agreed, on the condition that he accompany Annie. However, he didn't anticipate that this was Annie's trap. That night, they went to the prison. The minister found an excuse to interrogate Jack, and the three entered the interrogation room. 27 minutes later, the minister calmly exited, stating that Jack was like a fool, unwilling to say anything. The warden informed him that Jack had been like this since entering prison, expressionless and silent. The next day was the execution day. The guards cut off Jack's collar and led him to the guillotine. Unexpectedly, even at this moment, he remained expressionless, as if it had nothing to do with him. Seeing his unusual behavior, the nearby sheriff suddenly sensed something was wrong. He recalled the various human skin masks found at Jack's home and felt uneasy. He immediately stepped forward to halt the execution. The sheriff noticed the death row inmate on the guillotine was unusually calm. He suddenly realized something might be wrong with the inmate. He rushed forward to stop the execution, but it was already too late. The night before, Annie had agreed to marry the minister, but on the condition that she could visit Jack in prison. Upon entering the interrogation room, she injected a vial of green liquid into the minister's neck. This was a truth serum, and under its influence, they learned that the minister had hidden all his embezzled funds in the bank's vault. The key to the vault was kept in his office safe, and he revealed the safe's password to Annie. Annie then injected a vial of yellow liquid into the minister, causing him to become sluggish and lose control of his mind. Finally, they replaced him with a pre-prepared human skin mask. In this way, Jack escaped under the warden's watchful eye. The minister had already been executed, and the events had unfolded. To capture Jack smoothly, the sheriff decided to keep everything confidential and publicly announced that Jack had been executed. Meanwhile, he prepared to apprehend Jack, unaware that his identity had been exposed. Jack, wearing the minister's skin mask, successfully entered the office, opened the safe, and obtained the bank vault key. Just as he was about to leave, the sheriff called the secretary, revealing everything and instructing her to pretend nothing was wrong and delay Jack's departure. Unexpectedly, Jack overheard the entire conversation. Realizing his identity had been compromised, he quickly escaped through the back door, narrowly avoiding the arriving police officers. Since his identity had been exposed, it was no longer possible for him to impersonate the minister to retrieve the stolen funds from the bank. He threw away the key and initiated another plan. First, Annie disguised herself as a wealthy woman to deposit a famous painting in the bank, taking the opportunity to understand the bank's security system. To alleviate Annie's concerns, the bank manager explained that the bank was extremely secure, detailing the vault structure. He even revealed the most crucial security feature, a layer of wire mesh between the outer wall and the vault, which would trigger an alarm if touched, summoning the police within 5 minutes. Unbeknownst to the manager, Annie memorized everything he said. The manager then handed Annie a key, explaining that it needed to be turned simultaneously with the one in her possession to open the vault door. They placed the painting inside, unaware that the box actually contained a laser cutter. With this, Annie's task was complete. At this point, Jack had already crafted a trident drill and planned to rob the bank that night.